Welcome to another gentle descent into sleep. Tonight, story drifts through neon haze and midnight streets. The quiet confession of a man who woke in 1980s Los Angeles and discovered he was no longer seen. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the glow of memory guide you. The war telling us in the comments where and when you're listening from. And if these soft wanderings bring you peace, consider subscribing. Now, exhale slowly. The story continues. I wake to darkness, not the familiar darkness of my bedroom, where streetlight filters through Venetian blinds and paints zebra stripes across my ceiling. This is something else, something deeper. My eyes are open. I know they are open because I can feel the dry Los Angeles air against them, the way it always feels at 3 in the morning, when the Santa Ana winds have been blowing all day. I see nothing. No, that's not right. The numbers seem. I see everything. The digital clock on my nightstand glows red. 3:17 a.m. My bed is there. Rumpled white sheets, still warm from my to float in space, disconnected from the black plastic housing I know surrounds them. Body, but I cannot see the weight of myself pressing into the mattress. I sit up slowly. The motion feels normal, familiar. The slight creak of springs. No feet dangling, the whisper of cotton against skin. Bow. When I look down, nothing. No chest rising and falling. No hands resting on thighs. Over the edge of the bed, I am not here, but I am. The realization comes slowly, like Los Angeles morning fog rolling in from the ocean. It doesn't crash over me in waves of panic or wonder. It simply settles, cool and quiet, into the spaces between my thoughts. I am invisible. Not gone, not dead, just unseen. I stand and walk to the bathroom, my bare feet silent on the cold tile. The mirror above the sink shows only the reflection of the room behind me. The medicine cabinet, pull. The shower curtain with its pattern of seashells. The small window that looks out onto the courtyard of my apartment building. Burr the water, but no face. Looking back, die run water from the tap and watch it pool in my cupped palms. Is there, held in the shape of hands I cannot see. When I lift it to my face, feel the coolness against my skin. Watch droplets fall back into the sink, as if suspended in midair. This fluorescent light above the mirror hums its familiar tune. That slight electrical buzzing that becomes white noise after a while, like the distant hum of traffic on the 405 or the soft whir of the refrigerator in the kitchen. I am still here. Just differently here. I return to the bedroom and dress slowly. Jeans that seem to float and take shape around invisible legs. A t-shirt that hangs in space, filled with a body no one can see. I watch myself in the mirror, or rather, I watch my clothes arrange themselves into the shape of a man. A suggestion, a whisper of presence in empty rooms. This is what I am now. The walls are a shape. Studio, they call it. Though there's nothing the apartment is small. Kitchen, bathroom, and one room that artistic about the cramped space. Serves as bedroom, living room, and everything in between. That particular shade of off-white that landlords use because it shows dirt, but isn't quite stark enough to be called clean. I've lived here for 3 years. 3 years of late shifts at the record store, of coming home to frozen dinners and Carson reruns. Oh, of falling asleep to the sound of my neighbors' televisions bleeding through thin walls. This is alone in a way I've never experienced before. By a palm tree that drops fronds onto the concrete. But this is different. I sit on the couch and look out the window. The courtyard is empty, as it always is at this hour. A few cars parked in spaces marked by faded yellow lines. Rodriguez from Tubi will sweep up in the morning while muttering in Spanish about lazy landlords. The sky is that particular shade of Los Angeles night. Not quite black, never quite black, but a deep purple-gray that reflects the city somewhere in the distance. A siren wails, police, or neon heartbeat. It's just another sound in the symphony of ambulance. It doesn't matter. Sleeplessness that plays every night in this city. I wonder if this is how ghosts feel. If they wander through rooms they once knew, seeing but unseen, present but absent. If they sit in chairs that no longer creak under their weight and watch the world continue without them. But I am not dead. I can feel my heartbeat, steady and strong. I can feel the air moving in and out of my lungs. I can feel the couch beneath me, the texture of the rough fabric against my skin. I am here, just invisibly here. Because the coffee maker gurgles too live. I filled it before going to bed. Set the timer for 6 a.m. like I do every night. But it's only 3:43 now, and I won't be sleeping again anytime soon. I pour myself a cup and watch the dark liquid disappear as I drink it. The invisible warmth in an invisible body. Warmth spreads through my chest. Steam rises from the mug, and for a moment I imagine I can see the ghost of my breath mingling with it. Everything is the same, except for the taste is the same. Fundamental thing of all. When I am not here to be seen. I walk to the window and press my face against the glass. The coolness or physical but not present. I haven't figured out which yet. Against my skin is real. But the glass doesn't fog with my breath. Pull back, there's no impression of nose or lips left behind. Present, but not. It's as if I've become something between solid and spirit. Physical. The palm tree outside sways in the wind. Its fronds rustling with that dry, papery sound. They make a cat picks its way across the courtyard. Move in with that particular feline precision that suggests it knows exactly where it's going, even if no one else does. I wonder if the cat would see me. Animals are supposed to be more. It just continues on its midnight mission, disappearing into the sensitive to these things, aren't they? But the cat doesn't look up toward my window. Shadows between buildings. Maybe I'm not here for cats either. Maybe I'm not here for anyone. I decide to go outside. The hallway is dimly lit by a single bulb at the far end, by the carpet. Is that industrial brown that's designed to hide stains, though it's not very good at its job. I can see the ghostly outlines of old spills, and the worn paths where the sound echoes in the empty hallway. People walk from their doors to the stairs. Mrs. Rodriguez in to be is sleeping. Mr. Chun in. That's something, at least. I can still, but it's that my door clicks shut behind me, but there's no one to hear it. To see sleeping. Everyone is sleeping except for me, and I am no one. The stairs creak under my weight. Mailboxes with names I recognize, but faces I barely remember. They affect the physical world, even if the physical world can't see me doing it. Fluorescent lights. That each step sends a small groan through the building's bone. Settling, breathing. The traffic is sparse. Mostly delivery trucks and night shift workers kind of sound. Old buildings make all the time, dreaming their architectural dream. The lobby is empty, except for the usual suspect. Flicker slightly, casting everything in that particular shade of institutional white. Payphone. That hasn't worked in the 2 years I've lived here, but nobody bothers to remove. I push through the glass doors and step out into the night. Los Angeles at 4 a.m. is a different creature than Los Angeles during the day. The air is cooler, carrying the scent of jasmine from heading home. Someone's garden and the faint smell of exhaust that never quite leaves this city. I walk down the sidewalk, my footsteps silent on the concrete. A few windows glow with the blue light of late-night television, but most of the apartments are dark. People sleeping there, ordinary sleep, dreaming there if they knew that ordinary dreams. I wonder what they would think if they knew I was here. Someone unseen was walking past their windows, observing their private moments of darkness. But they don't know. They can't know. And somehow that feels right. I find myself at the corner of Sunset and Vine. The intersection is quiet. A few streetlights cast circles of yellow light on empty now. Nothing like the chaos of rush hour or the neon-soaked madness of before-I weekend nights. A bus stop bench sits empty. It's advertisement for a movie I've never heard of, slightly torn at one corner. This is where I caught the bus to work for the first year I lived here. Saved enough money to buy the used Honda that's now parked in the apartment building's lot. I remember standing here in the morning, watching the city wake up around me. The gradual increase in traffic, the present in the way that shadows are present, or the way air is present. Slow parade of people heading to jobs they probably didn't love, but needed to survive. Now I'm standing here again, but I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just here, necessary but unnoticed. A taxi drives by, its headlights cutting through the darkness. For a moment, I'm caught in the beams, but the driver doesn't slow down. Doesn't see the man standing on the corner in jeans and a t-shirt, watching the city sleep. I could wave. I could jump up and down, shout, make a scene. I am beyond waving now. Beyond, but somehow I know it wouldn't matter. Shouting, beyond scenes, past the record stores and vintage clothing shops. I am in the space between being and not being, and it's peaceful. I walk west on Sunset, only to remember it more acutely when they wake up. That'll open in a few hours, past the coffee shops where people will sit with their laptops and pretend to write the great American novel while actually checking their email. Past the bars where people go to forget that they're alone, hungover and empty. I know these places. I've been a customer, a browser, a lonely person nursing a beer and watching other lonely people do the same. But now I'm something else. Now I'm the observer without the observer, the watcher without the watch. The neon signs are still on, painting the wet pavement in shades of pink and blue and green. It rained earlier before I went to sleep, and the asphalt reflects the light like a mirror. My footsteps don't splash in the puddles because my feet don't disturb the water. I am lighter than rain, more subtle than wind. I am the ghost of myself, but a ghost with a beating heart and thoughts that won't quiet. A ghost who can smell the night-blooming jasmine and feel the warm air rising. A ghost who is more present than he is from the vents of late-night diner. Be ever been, precisely because he's no longer visible. I've been there before. There's a 24-hour diner on Fountain called The coffee is terrible but strong, and the waitresses usually after particularly long shifts at the record store, when I couldn't face the idea of going home to my empty apartment and heating up another frozen dinner. That particular brand of world-weary kindness that you only find in places that never close. I push through the door, and the bell chimes. Pi, the night shift waitress, a woman in her 50s. The sound is the same as always, but no one looks up, and for a moment, the waitress glances in my with silver hair and tired eyes, continues wiping down the counter. A man, but her eyes don't focus on anything. They just slide past. The inner trucker capsits at the far end of the counter, nursing a cup of coffee and staring at a newspaper he's probably already read 3 times. Divine. I take a seat at the counter, 2 stools away from the trucker. Squeaks under my weight. Direction. I'm not seen. I'm not part of the way eyes do when there's nothing to see. Everything is normal except for the fact that I'm not here. The refrigerator hums. The radio plays softly and the coffee maker gurgles. The background. Some late-night DJ spinning forgotten songs from the 70s. Or I am here, but I'm not acknowledged. World's equation anymore. And sitting here, listening to the gentle sounds of late-night existence, realize something. Out of mind. The trucker finishes his coffee and leaves $1 tip on the counter. The bell chiming behind nods to the waitress and pushes through the door. The waitress collects the money and the empty mug, then returns to her position behind the counter, waiting for the next customer who may or may not come. She's methodical, efficient. Refilling, I sit in the quiet and watch her work, wiping down surfaces that are already clean, and that makes the watching feel pure. Preparing, she's just the ketchup bottles, the real world. Is there something beautiful for the breakfast rush that's still hours away? By her dedication to these small rituals, these acts of maintenance that keep the world functioning. She doesn't know I'm watching the waitress, untainted by the performance that comes with being observed. Her eyes are focused, alert. She tilts herself in the way that people are only themselves when they think no one is looking. I wonder if this is what I've been missing all these years. The symphony of the unseen world that exists between the moments when people are conscious of being watched, the world of private gestures and unconscious grace. The radio plays an old song, something soft and melancholy, with a saxophone that seems to understand exactly how 4 a.m. feels. Just barely audible above the sound of the coffee maker. And can she see me? How can hums along the distant hum of traffic? I close my eyes and listen. The music, the humming, the electrical sounds of appliances doing their jobs. When I open my eyes, the waitress is looking directly at me. Not at the space I occupy, but at me. Her head slightly, as if she's trying to figure out what she's seeing. "You okay, honey?" she asks. My heart stops, then starts again, faster than before. "You look lost," she continues. "You want some coffee?" I open my mouth to speak, but no words come. She'll see me. But then she turns away, and I realize she's talking to someone else. A man has entered the diner, and he's standing behind me. He's the one who looks lost. He's the one who needs coffee. I turn to look at him. He's young, maybe early 20s, with a kind of hollow-eyed exhaustion that comes from too many nights like this one. Slides onto the stool next to me, and for a moment, his shoulder almost touches mine. Almost, but not quite. "Sit." The waitress pours him coffee without being asked, and he wraps his hands around the mug like it's the only warm thing in the world. Side by side, 2 people at a counter, but only one of us is really there. Only one of us exists in the equation of the world. I leave the diner and walk back into the night. The sky is beginning to lighten, just barely at the edges. Dawn is still hours away, but the darkness is no longer absolute. It's become something softer, more forgiving. I walk without direction, letting my feet choose the path. Down side streets I've never explored, past swimming pools that glow blue in the darkness, empty of curtains. Swimmers, but full of light. This is how Los Angeles looks when no one is watching. When no one is performing for cameras or trying to impress strangers, then the city is just part of the spaces between itself, sprawling and dreaming and breathing in the dark. The same I am part of it now, part of the unseen world, things. My apartment building comes into view as I round the corner. Palm tree, the same cracked concrete, the same faded yellow lines. marking, but it looks different now, more real somehow. More parking spaces present. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, each step creaking in the familiar way. The hallway is still dimly lit, still empty. My door is still locked, but I have my key. Inside, everything is as I left it. The unmade bed, the empty coffee mug, the television turned off, but still warm. The ordinary artifacts of an ordinary life. But I am no longer ordinary. I am something else now. Something between visible and invisible. Between present and absent. Something that exists in the spaces between certainty and doubt. I sit on the couch and look out the window. The courtyard is still empty, but the darkness is softer now. The sky is the color of charcoal, lighter than it was an hour ago. Soon, Mrs. Rodriguez will wake up and sweep the palm fronds from the... Mr. Chun will start his car and drive to his job at the electronics concrete. The world will resume its daytime performance, its dance of being, store, seen, and seeing. But I will remain unseen, and maybe that's exactly where I need to be. I lie down on the bed and close my eyes. The sheets are cool against my skin. Invisible skin on invisible body. The apartment is quiet except for the familiar sounds. The hum of the refrigerator. The distant whisper of traffic. Pit's song. The soft settling of the building's bone. Somewhere in the distance, a bird begins to sing. The first bird of the almost morning, calling to the darkness that hasn't quite lifted yet, is clear and sweet, a small, perfect note in the symphony of the unseen world. Do I listen to the bird and feel my breathing slow, in and out, in and out. Rhythm of existence, visible or not. My body relaxes into the mattress. My mind drifts toward sleep, toward dreams that no one will see me having. Dreams that exist only in the space between my thoughts and the morning light. I am fading into the place where all invisible things go. The place where all quiet things rest. The place where all lonely things find peace. The bird sings again, and I let the sound carry me deeper into the darkness, deeper into the space between being and not being, deeper into sleep. I wake again, but this time I know what I'll find. There the clock glows, 11:47 a.m. By, and sunlight streams through the Venetian. But when I look down at blinds, in the familiar pattern of light and shadow, myself, there's still nothing to see. Just the depression in the mattress where my body lies, the slight wrinkle in the sheet where my leg rests. I am still invisible, still here, but not here. The morning routine feels strange, still present in the spaces between things. I rise slowly and walk to the bathroom. When performed by someone who isn't there, brushing teeth that no one can see, the toothbrush scraping against nothing, the washing a face that has no reflection. I can hear it combing hair that moves, the comb moving through air that but remains invisible. The sounds are all wrong. Water running over invisible hands somehow offers resistance. I am learning the acoustics of not being seen. Cars starting in the parking lot. The apartment buildings outside. The world has resumed its daytime performance. She threw the wall. Front door opening and closing as people leave for work or return from Rodriguez is in the courtyard. Sweeping palm fronds. With the same errands, the distant hum of traffic on Sunset Boulevard. Mrs. Methodical precision she brings to everything. Prayer. She's wearing a blue house dress and slippers. Her grey hair pulled back in a neat bun. Pauses occasionally to adjust the small radio that sits on the concrete steps. Fine-tuning the Spanish language station that keeps her company during these morning rituals. I watch her from my window. She can't see me, but I can see her completely. The way she favors her left leg, the slight stoop in her shoulders that speaks of years spent caring for others. The gentle humming that accompanies her work, harmonizing with the radio's cheerful accordion music. Beautiful in the way that people are. She's beautiful in her. Beautiful when they think no one is watching. If there were moments when they're just themselves, performing the small ceremonies that keep the world unaware of functioning. I wonder if I was ever beautiful like that, moved through the world with that kind of unconscious grace, being observed. Even alone in the possibility that in the mirror I look like a scarecrow. Jeans and a t-shirt that arrange. But I can't remember ever feeling unobserved. Apartment. I always felt the weight of potential scrutiny. Someone might see me, judge me, find me wanting. Now the possibility is gone. Marcus, the owner, is understanding but practical. And instead of feeling liberated, I've called in sick, empty. I dress in the same clothes from last night, themselves into the shape of a man, a suggestion of humanity held together by cotton and denim. The record store where I work is only a few blocks away. Exactly 3 times in the 2 years I've worked there. Always with genuine illness, always with guilt. He needs someone to open the store, to help customers find the obscure albums they're looking for, to maintain the carefully curated atmosphere. Musical discovery, but I won't be going to work today. I won't be going to work ever again, probably. How do you explain to your boss that you've become invisible? But how do you punch a time clock with hands that no one can see? How do you help customers when you can't be perceived? The phone rings. It's probably Marcus, wondering why I haven't shown up for my shift. The answering machine kicks in after 4 rings, and I hear my own voice asking callers to leave a message. Strange hearing my recorded voice when my actual voice seems to have disappeared along with the rest. Give me a call when you get this. Hope you're not too sick of me. Hey, it's Marcus. You okay, man? You missed your shift. And that's not like you, a businessman in a... The machine clicks off, and the apartment falls silent again. I am officially absent from the world. The people heading to lunch. I leave the apartment and walk down Sunset toward the record store. Sidewalks are busy with the usual daytime crowd. Tourists consulting maps. Street performers setting up their equipment for a woman with a baby stroller navigates around me the afternoon rush. Ply, move among them like a ghost, invisible and silent. B expensive suit brushes past me, his shoulder passing through the space where mine should be. Without knowing I'm there, her movements unconsciously accommodating an obstacle she can't see. I am a hole in the world shaped like a person. The record store sits between a vintage clothing shop and a coffee place that serves espresso in tiny cups to people who wear sunglasses indoors. The window display features this week's new releases, carefully arranged, and by Marcus, to create a sense of discovery and possibility. I can see him inside, helping a customer find something in the jazz section. He's wearing his usual uniform, black jeans, vintage band t-shirt, round glasses that make him look like a hip professor. His movements are efficient but unhurried, the gestures of someone who has found his calling in the intersection of music and commerce. Prayer. He keeps glancing toward the door, probably wondering if I'll show up with some explanation for my absence. But I'm already here, standing right outside, and he has no way of knowing it. I push through the door, and the bell chimes with its familiar sound. Marcus looks up hopefully, but his eyes pass right through me. He sees the door opening and closing by itself, but his mind doesn't process. It simply dismisses it as a trick of the wind or a problem with impossibility. The door mechanism. The customer, a woman in her 30s, browsing through the vinyl, doesn't notice anything unusual either. She continues flipping through albums, occasionally pulling one out to examine the cover art. I am in the room, but not of the room. Present, but not participate. I walk through the store, past the listening stations where people sample albums through headphones, past the counter where Marcus keeps the everything is exactly as I left it yesterday. Rare finds locked in a glass case. But my absence has already created a small disruption in the routine. The morning shipment sits unopened in the back room. Normally I would, but the boxes sit untouched. Have unpacked it by now, logged the new arrivals, and integrated them. I follow into the store's carefully organized system, waiting for hands that can't be seen to open them. Marcus finishes helping the customer and walks to the back room, him watching as he looks at the unopened shipment with a slight frown. He checks his watch, then picks up the phone to call me again. I'm getting worried now. This really isn't like you. Hey, it's Marcus again. I'm going to try calling your apartment in a few minutes. If you're sick, that's fine, but I need to know. Call me back. He hangs up and stares at the boxes for a moment. Then he sighs, and doing the work that I should be doing, begins unpacking them himself. Marcus is a good boss. He's not angry, just puzzled and slightly concerned. The kind who remembers his employees' birthdays and doesn't dock pay for the occasional late arrival. I want to help him. I want to materialize and apologize and explain that I have literally disappeared, but he's thinking fine, just temporarily invisible, but I can't. The afternoon sun as I can only watch as he does my job. wondering where I've gone and why I've disappeared without palm trees line the boulevard. Their explanation. The irony isn't lost on me. About it, metaphorically, and the air carries the scent of exhaust. I leave the store and continue walking down Sunset. She's warm on my invisible skin. I'm just another face in the stream of customers, another possibility that defines Los Angeles. Fronds rustling in the breeze like whispered secret. I pass the coffee shop, where I sometimes grab a quick breakfast before work. Through the window, I can see the usual crowd, aspiring. Screenwriters typing on laptops, students reading textbooks, people having conversations that seem very important to them and completely irrelevant to everyone else. Purista is a young woman with purple hair and sleeves of tattoo. Made my coffee dozens of times, but I doubt she would recognize me if I were visible. Order in the endless sequence of medium coffee. Black, no sugar. But now, I'm not even that. Now I'm nothing in the stream. A absence that doesn't even create a ripple. I watch her work. Her movements quick and efficient. She's probably an working the coffee actress or a musician, like half the people in this city. Ove of being shocked to pay rent, while she pursues her dream of being seen. How her purple hair, how she exists so completely in the world, so solidly, noticed, of mattering in some larger way. I wonder if she knows how visible she already is. Catches the light, how her smile transforms her face when she hands someone their order. The driver doesn't present that she probably never questions her own reality. I sit in the back, invisible among the visible, and watch the city pass. I envy her certainty, her undeniable presence in the equation of the world. The bus stops at the corner, and I get on without paying. A man sees me boarding, and the other passengers don't notice the empty space a woman reads they occupy, by through scratched window, pass. The passengers are lost in their own private world. Romance novel, her lips moving slightly as she follows the dialogue. Stares out the window with the glazed expression of someone who's made this trip so many times. He doesn't need to pay attention to the route. A teenager listens to music on headphones, his head nodding to a rhythm only he can hear. Maybe everyone is alone, even in this crowded space. Maybe that's why my invisibility doesn't feel as strange as it should. Most people are invisible most of the time, lost in their own thoughts and experiences. Maybe I've just taken it one step further. Maybe I've become literally what I always was, metaphorically. The bus winds through Hollywood, past the tourist attractions and the souvenir shops that sell dreams to people who save up for years to visit the city where dreams are supposed to come true. I see families posing for their smiles, bright and hopeful. Photos next to stars on the Walk of Fame. They don't know that. They don't know that most of the names on those stars belong to people who were famous for 15 minutes 50 years ago. Dreams in this city are more often deferred. Nat. For maybe the point is the dreaming itself, the success story. There are thousands of quiet disappointments. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the tourists or the buildings are act of believing that something better is possible. Bright to smile even if they don't understand what they're smiling at. I get off the bus in a neighborhood I don't recognize. Older here, with a kind of faded grandeur that suggests they were once important. Imagine only 4 trips to the grocery store or the laundromat. Art Deco apartments with names like the Royale and the Here. People live their private lives behind closed. Windermere, their lobbies still elegant, despite decades of deferred maintenance. I walk down tree-lined streets where the shadows are cooler and the air is. This is residential Los Angeles, away from the commercial bustle of quieter. The main boulevards, doors. I feel more at home here among the quiet spaces, more at home in the margins of the visible world. I find a small park tucked between apartment buildings. It's not much. A few benches, some grass that's more brown than green. Playground but it's peaceful, and the palm trees equipment that's seen better decades provide shade from the afternoon sun. He's wearing a cardigan despite the warmth. An elderly man sits on one of the benches, feeding breadcrumbs to pigeons from a paper bag. He can't see me, but weather, and his hands shake slightly as he scatters the crumbs. Pigeons gather around his feet, cooing and pecking at the ground with gentle urgency. I sit on the bench next to him, invisible but present. The pigeons seem to sense something. Part. They keep glancing in my direction, their heads tilting with that particular bird-like curiosity. Animals, I remember reading somewhere, are more sensitive to things that humans miss. The old man notices the pigeon's behavior and looks around. His eyes, he's doing it because it's simply what he passing through me without recognition. Bree shrugs and continues feeding the birds, talking to them in a soft voice that carries the accent of somewhere far from here. Bee, he says. He's not feeding the pigeons to Bee. Please, okay. I have plenty. Bez, you're hungry today, aren't you? Always enough to share. His kindness is unconscious, automatic, seen doing something good. His breathing is steady and deep, and for a doze, part of his daily routine of small generosities. I watch him until the bag is empty and the pigeons begin to disperse. Folds the paper bag neatly and puts it in his pocket, then sits back on the bench and closes his eyes. Moment. I think he might be sleeping. But then he opens his eyes and looks directly at me. I know you're there, he says, quietly. My heart stops, then starts again, faster than before. I can't see you, he continues, but I know you're there. The birds know too. They're smarter than we give them credit for. I want to speak, but I'm afraid too. What if he can't actually see me? What if he's talking to someone else, or just talking to himself the way old people sometimes do? You don't have to say anything, he says, as if reading my thoughts. But you can if you want to. I'm a good listener. I find my voice, though it sounds strange in my ears, distant, like it's coming from somewhere else. You can hear me. I've been sitting in clear as day, he says, though I couldn't tell you why. This park for 15 years, ever since my wife died. I've seen a lot of things. Hug that other people might not notice. Heard A lot of things that other people might not hear. He doesn't seem surprised by my invisibility. He accepts it the way he accepts the pigeon's behavior or the way the light falls through the palm trees, as just another fact of existence. Are you lonely? He asks. The question catches me off guard. I expect him to ask how I became invisible, or why, or what it means by. He asks about loneliness, which is somehow more intimate than any of those other questions. I don't know, I answer honestly. I thought I was lonely before, but this is different. Different how? Before, I was lonely because I felt like no one saw. I considered the question me. Now I'm lonely because no one can see me. It's the difference between being ignored and being invisible. And which is worse? I think about this for a long moment. I'm not sure yet. He nods as if this makes perfect sense. What's your name? I ask. Frank, he says. Frank Delano Roosevelt Martinez. My mother had a sense of humor about names. But I realize I don't know if I should tell him my name. If I'm invisible, do I still have a name? Do I still have an identity? You're still you, Frank says, reading my hesitation. Being invisible doesn't change who you are. It just changes how the world sees you, or doesn't see you. I'm David, I say. Nice to meet you, David, even if I can't see you. We sit in comfortable silence for a while, watching the pigeons and the occasional dog walker. The sun is beginning to sink lower in the sky, painting the park in shades of gold and amber. Can I ask you something? Frank says, eventually. Of course. Do you want to be visible again? It's a simple question, but it hits me like a physical blow. Do I want to be visible again? I haven't really thought about it. I've been so focused on adjusting to being invisible that I haven't considered whether it might be temporary or permanent. Whether it might be a choice or a condition. Part of me feels like this is where I belong. Like I was. I don't know, I say. Always meant to be unseen. And the other part misses being acknowledged. Misses existing in other. Like I was still here, but the world had moved on without people's awareness. Frank nods slowly. I felt that way after my wife died. Not invisible, exactly, but irrelevant. Me. Like I was a leftover from someone else's story. How did you deal with it? I came here, started feeding the pigeons. Started paying attention to the small things that most people miss. The way the light changes throughout the day. The way the grass grows in different patterns. Beware, people walk when they think no one is watching. He pauses, then continues. I realized that being unseen doesn't mean being unimportant. Sometimes the most important things are the things she doesn't notice. Frank, or the empty space beside that happen when no one is looking. A young woman jogs by, her footsteps rhythmic on the concrete path. She's wearing headphones and has the focused expression of someone lost in her own world. Him where I sit. She runs by here every day at this time, Frank says. Rain or shine. She's training for something, I think. A marathon, maybe. She's been getting faster over the months. I watch her disappear around the corner, this stranger whose routine Frank is absorbed into his own daily observations. You see everything I say. I see what I pay attention to. Most people are too busy being seen to really see anything else. The sun continues its descent, and the park begins to empty. Dog walkers, the city head home for dinner. Children are called in from playgrounds, prepares for the transition from day to night. Frank stands up slowly, his joints protesting the movement. I should head home. My cat gets anxious if I'm late with dinner. I ask. I'm here every day at this time. You're welcome to join me, visible or not. He starts to walk away, then turns back toward my bench. David, yes. Being invisible isn't the worst thing that can happen to a person. Being blind to the invisible things around you, that's worse. He nods once, then continues on his way, his footsteps quiet on the path. I sit alone in the gathering dusk, thinking about his words. Around me, the nocturnal creatures stir in the shadows. The city prepares for its park, settles into its evening rhythm. Night-blooming flowers begin to open. Second shift. I am part of it all, invisible but present, unseen but not unimportant. I walk home through neighborhoods that are transforming from day to night. Porch lights flicker on. Windows glow with the warm light of dinner preparation. Television screens paint walls in blue and silver. Behind those windows, people are living their private lives, having conversations, sharing meals, arguing about bills or schedules or whose turn it is to take out the trash. Be ordinary intimacies that make up a life. I pass a ground floor apartment where a couple is cooking dinner. She's chopping vegetables while he stirs something on the stove. Together. They're not talking, but there's an ease between them, a comfortable silence that speaks of years spent sharing space. Through another window, I see a man helping his young daughter with homework at the kitchen table. Her tongue pokes out slightly as she concentrates on her math problem. Patience is visible in the way he leans forward, ready to help but not interfering. But I'm not really a stranger anymore. I'm something else. They're not meant for strangers to. These moments are private, intimate. Between. Observe. Something that exists in the spaces between private and public. Seen and unseen. I'm a witness to the invisible world. My apartment building comes into view, and I realize I'm not ready to go. The thought of sitting in my empty studio, invisible and alone, like accepting that this is all I am now, a home, yet feels too much like surrender. Presence without presence, a man without substance. Instead, I turn down a side street I've never explored. The houses here are the kind of neighborhood where people know that. Older, smaller, post-war bungalows with tiny yards and driveways that barely fit one car. Observing the details that daylight usually washes out. She hums while she works. Some melody from the soft glow of reading lamps in living room windows. neighbors' names, and watch each other's kids. By, walk slowly, where shadows pool under eaves. She's participating in an ancient ritual of tending and care. The sound of wind chimes hanging from porch ceilings. Rose bushes line the fence, their blooms still fragrant in the evening. An elderly woman waters her garden with a hose. By, the spray catching the tomato plants, heavy with fruit occupy neat rows. Herbs grow in theirs, satisfaction in her posture, the contentment of someone I'm witnessing her private communion with growth and life, light from a porch. Decades pass. Her movements are careful, deliberate. She's not that makes the watching feel pure. Watering plants. I stop to watch her. This woman whose garden is clearly the center of her world. Air, carefully labeled containers. She doesn't know I'm watching. Sacred, almost. Her quiet conversation with the earth. When she's finished, she coils the hose neatly and stands back to survey her work, who has found meaning in small, consistent acts of creation. She goes inside, and the porch light stays on, casting a warm circle of illumination on the garden she's tended. I continue walking, carrying the image of her careful attention with me. The neighborhood grows quieter as the evening progresses. Fewer cars on the streets, fewer people on the sidewalks. The city is settling into its nighttime rhythm, preparing for the hours when only the restless and the restaurant is working remain awake. I find myself in a small commercial district. A few shops, a restaurant, a bar, not out of hunger, spring with neon signs that paint the sidewalk in pink and blue. Busy with the dinner crowd, couples and families gathered around tables, sharing food and conversation. The way they share tastes from I stand outside the window and watch them eat. Realize I haven't felt hungry since I became invisible, but out of curiosity. She's about this ritual of communal nourishment. By the way children fidget while adults linger over coffee. The way people lean forward to hear each other over the ambient noise. Each other's plates. A young couple sits near the window, clearly on an early date, nervous, playing with her napkin and glancing around the room. He's the trying too hard to be charming, talking with his hands and laughing at his own jokes. They're both performing versions of themselves, hoping to be the exhausting effort of being seen in a particular scene as attractive, interesting, worth knowing. I remember that feeling, way of crafting an image that might be appealing to someone else. Constant awareness of being observed. The pressure of being seen is gone. The performance is over. I can know. Watching them from my invisible vantage point, I feel something. Like, even though I never felt like I was very good at it. Relief, simply be, without the weight of others' expectations. But I also feel something like sadness. The young couple's nervous energy, their hope, their willingness to risk rejection. It's beautiful, even if it's also It's the beautiful exhaustion of being alive in the world of exhort. Participating in the endless dance of human connection. I miss that dance. I walk past the bar, where people gather to forget their loneliness or to celebrate their connections. Through the window, I see the usual nighttime crowd. Couples on dates, groups of friends, solo drinkers nursing beers and watching the game on mounted televisions. The bartender is a woman in her 40s with short-cropped hair, and she moves with the efficiency of someone who's been competent hands, doing this job for years, mixing drinks and managing conversations with equal skill. She's the kind of person who remembers regulars' orders and listens to their problems without judgment. A joke with a businessman loosening his tie. A gentle refusal to the AI. Watch her work, noting the way she creates small moments of connection with each customer. Sympathetic nod to the woman drinking wine alone. Man who's clearly had too much already. People see her, but they don't really see her. Being seen but not acknowledged. They see the drinks. She's orchestrating the evening social symphony, invisible in her own way. But they makes the service she provides, the atmosphere she helps create. Don't see the person behind the performance. Maybe that's another kind of invisibility. Being present but not recognized as fully human. Maybe everyone is invisible in some way. The night grows deeper, and I find myself walking toward the ocean. I can smell it before I see it. That particular scent of salt and seaweed and endless possibility that defines the western edge of the continent. The beach is mostly empty at this hour. A few late-night joggers, some the couples walking hand in hand, a homeless man sleeping under a pier. Waves roll in with their ancient rhythm, indifferent to the human drama playing out on the shore. I sit on the sand and watch the water move. The moonlight creates a silver path across the surface, and I imagine I could walk on it, invisible feet on invisible water, all the way to the horizon. The ocean doesn't care if I'm visible or not. It's vast enough to contain all possibilities, the seen and the unseen, the known and the unknown. It's been here longer than any of us, and it will be here long after we're gone. There's something comforting about that permanence. About being part I taste salt on my lips and feel the coolness against of something larger than the small dramas of individual existence. A wave larger than the others crashes near my feet, and the spray mists. I am still here, still present, still part of the physical world, across my invisible face. My skin, still real, even if I can't be seen. I walk back, along the beach, past the closed lifeguard stations, and the city sprawls inland from millions of lights, creating a carpet of illumination that extends to volleyball nets that sag in the night breeze. Beshore, the mountains. Somewhere in that vast grid of light, people are living their lives, falling in love, falling apart, falling asleep, working late shifts, watching late-night television, lying awake worrying about tomorrow, creating art, destroying relationships, finding meaning in the space between hope and disappointment, a witness to the endless complexity. I am part of it all, invisible but present, of human existence. The walk home takes me through neighborhoods that are transitioning from evening to night. Restaurants closing, bars filling up, late night. But she's lost in her book, transported to some establishments beginning their second shift. The city's rhythm changing. Reading becoming more intimate, more mysterious. I pass a 24-hour laundromat where a woman sits alone. We're both alone. Fluorescent paperback novel while her clothes tumble in the dryer. Lights cast harsh shadows. She's invisible in her own other world where the lighting is softer and the story makes sense. She doesn't look up when I pass by the window, way absorbed in the private world of her imagination. But we're alone together, sharing the same physical space, even if we can't acknowledge each other. My apartment building appears around the corner, and I realize I'm ready to go home now. The night has taught me something about the nature of visibility and invisibility, about the spaces between being seen and being acknowledged. The hallway is quiet, lit by the same flickering bulb that's been dying. I climb the stairs to my apartment, each step familiar beneath my invisible feet. 4 months. Mrs. Rodriguez's television murmurs behind her door. Mr. The apartment is exactly as I left it, but Chun's apartment is dark. He goes to bed early and rises before dawn. I've grown comfortable with darkness. With the I sit on the couch and look out the window and I unlock my door and step inside. Less like a place where someone hides and more like a feels different now. Place where someone lives. The distinction is subtle but important. I don't turn on the light. Its fronds catching the light from Mrs. Rodriguez's swept concrete is clean and orderly. The spaces between illumination, the courtyard below. The palm tree sways in the night breeze, the street lamp. World continues its quiet revolution, day becoming night, becoming day. I am part of it all, invisible but present, unseen but not unimportant, unknown but not unknowing. I lie down on the bed and close my eyes. The sheets are cool against my invisible skin, and the apartment settles into its familiar nighttime sounds. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant whisper of traffic, the soft creaking of the building's bone, the sound somewhere in the distance. A train whistles its lonesome song, carries across the city, a reminder that people are always moving, always traveling from one place to another, always searching for something better toward, or different, or simply new. I listen to the train and let its rhythm carry me toward sleep. Dreams that no one will see me having, toward the place where all invisible things go to rest. The night embraces me, and I embrace it back, invisible but present, unseen but not unimportant, here but not here, exactly where I need to be. I wake to the sound of rain. Not the gentle morning drizzle that Los Angeles sometimes offers as an apology for its perpetual sunshine, but real rain, the kind that drums against windows and turns the streets into rivers of reflected neon. The clock reads to 31 a.m., and I realize I've been sleeping for hours. Deep, dreamless sleep that felt like floating in warm water. Be the kind of rest that comes only when you've stopped fighting against what you are. I am still invisible. Still here but not here. Still present in the spaces between recognition and reality. The rain continues its percussion against the window, and I rise to watch it. The courtyard below is transformed into a small lake. The palm trees fall, reflection wavering in the accumulated water. Mrs. Rodriguez is carefully. The way it creates a soundtrack that drowns out swept concrete has become a mirror that doubles the world. There's something hypnotic about rain at night. The way it washes the city clean, at least temporarily. The usual urban symphony of traffic and sirens and late-night argument. I dress in the same clothes that have become my uniform, bitchkins, and a tee, in a shirt that hold the shape of a man, without revealing the man himself. The mirror. I am a suggestion, a possibility, a question mark, in cotton and denim. The rain calls to me. I want to walk in it, to feel it against my invisible skin, to become part of the city's cleansing ritual. But the streets are mostly empty, surrendered to the rain and the few people, delivery drivers, night shift workers, who have no choice but to be out in it. It falls through me as insomniacs who find peace in the sound of water falling from the sky. My clothes get wet, but I don't feel the familiar I wore without destination, letting the rain guide me. I feel the rain as a presence, much as on me, each drop a small reminder that I exist in the space's pink and blue and yellow lights that shimmer and dance with each, between solid and spirit. Discomfort of soaked fabric against skin. Companion, a fellow traveler in the night. She's wearing a waitress uniform under a thin jacket. The night shift, probably. Working while the neon signs reflect in the wet pavement, creating a second city beneath. I am walking through a watercolor painting. A world Maitsoff doesn't notice when I sit beside her on my feet, passing car, unfluid by the rain. I pass a bus stop where a woman waits alone, huddled under the small shelter, checks her watch repeatedly. Rest of the city sleeps, serving coffee and eggs. 2 truckers and insomniacs, and people like me who exist in the margins of the regular world. I'm waiting for nothing, but I'm not. But she seems to sense something, because she glances in my eyes. She doesn't see me approach. Then direction and pulls her jacket tighter around herself. Cold night, she says, to no one in particular. I want to respond, to offer some comfort or companionship. Not everyone is attuned, another invisible person in her own way. another shoe, she would hear me the way Frank heard me, to the invisible world, and I watch it pull away, taking her toward whatever. Instead, I sit with her in silence, two people waiting for different things. She's waiting for the bus that will take her to work, which is perhaps the most honest kind of waiting. Bus arrives with a hiss of brakes and a spray of water from the gutter. She climbs aboard, stores the night holds. Worker in the city's endless machinery of service and survival. Continue walking past 24-hour convenience stores that glow like beacons in the rain. Inside, clerks wait behind bulletproof glass, reading paperback novels or watching small televisions. They're guardians of the night economy, selling coffee and cigarettes and lottery tickets to people who measure time in shifts rather than days. One store has a small seating area with a few plastic chairs and a vending. I push through the door, machine that hums with mechanical contentment, setting off an electronic chime that the clerk acknowledges with a slight nod. He's a middle-aged man with tired eyes and the kind of patience that comes from years of dealing with night people. He's methodical. I sit in one of the plastic chairs and watch him work. Every few minutes, efficient, stocking shelves, checking inventory, maintaining the small order of commerce that keeps the night world functioning. Customer enters, a taxi driver buying energy drinks, a woman in scrubs getting coffee before her hospital shift, a teenager who might be running, even invisible. I feel welcome in his quiet space, away from home, but is probably just running toward something else. The clerk doesn't try to engage in each interaction, is brief, professional. Conversation beyond the necessary exchange of goods and money. He's learnt that night, people often prefer their privacy, their anonymity. They're here because they have to be, not because they want to be social. I appreciate his discretion. The vending machine beside me dispenses snacks and sodas with mechanical precision. Every few minutes, someone feeds it coins and makes a selection. The machine responds with a series of clicks and whirs, delivering sustenance to the night shift workers and insomniacs who need fuel for their unconventional schedules. No pretense, no performance, no need to be seen where you put money. I watch the machine work, fascinated by its simple honesty. In you get food out, acknowledged, just pure transaction, pure function. There's something beautiful about that simplicity. The machine doesn't care if you're visible or invisible, attractive or ugly, successful or struggling. The machine, it just provides what you need in exchange for what you have. I fish coins from my pocket and feed them into the slot. Her accepts them readily, responding to the reality of currency rather than the visibility of the person providing it. I press the button for a candy bar, and that makes processed food seem the machine delivers it to the slot below. The wrapper crinkles in my invisible hands, and I eat the chocolate slowly, savoring the sweetness. It tastes the same as it did when I was visible. Post sugar and cocoa, and the artificial vanilla night shift workers learn like comfort. The clerk glances over at the sound of the wrapper, but his eyes pass. He sees the vending machine, sees thee through me without recognition. Empty chairs, sees nothing that requires his attention. He doesn't seem disturbed by the sound of invisible consumption. To accept small mysteries. Rain continues outside, washing the city in its gentle violence. I finish content to be still for a while by the candy bar and sit back in the plastic chair. The convenience store is a small island of warmth and light in the dark. She's young, maybe early ocean of the night. A woman enters, shaking rain from her umbrella. 20s, with a kind of carefully maintained appearance that suggests she's on her way to or from a job that requires interaction with the public. She moves with purpose, selecting items from the shelves with practiced efficiency. Energy drink, aspirin, a pre-packaged sandwich that has probably been sitting in the refrigerator case for days. The essentials of someone working multiple jobs, living on stimulants and painkillers and whatever nutrition she can grab between shifts. She pays with exact change, counting out quarters and dimes with the precision of someone who knows exactly how much money she has. Clerk accepts the payment without comment, understanding that questions about late-night shopping habits are unnecessary invasions of privacy. What jobs she's working, what dreams she's She leaves as quickly as she came, disappearing into the rain with her small collection of survival supplies. Another night worker, another invisible, but I'll never know. And that's probably as it should be. Some person in the city's endless parade of people just trying to get by. I wonder about her story, pursuing what brought her to this convenience store at 3 a.m. on a rainy night. Mysteries are meant to remain mystery. I leave the store and walk deeper into the night. The rain has softened to a gentle mist, and the streets gleam with reflected light. I pass a motel with a neon sign that flickers between vacancy and vacancy, creating a small lighthouse of imperfect welcome. The motel is the kind of place where people stay when they're between the parking lot. One life and another. Temporary residents, people in transition, travelers who measure their journeys in weeks rather than days. Half full of cars that have seen better decades, and a few windows glow with the blue light of late-night television. I walk through the courtyard, past the empty swimming pool, and the motel has the particular sadness of a vending machine that hums with the same mechanical contentment as the one in the convenience store. Places that are meant to be temporary but often become permanent. His voice carries through the thin walls, and I catch fragments. He's explaining why he's late, why he can't make it, why through one window I see a man sitting on the edge of his bed talking on the phone, over conversation with someone who might be his ex-wife, or his mother, or his parole officer. Things are more complicated than they seem. Both of us are displaced in our own ways. Both of his frustration is visible in the way he runs his free hand through his hair, the way his shoulders slump with the weight of circumstances beyond his control. He's trying to maintain connections to a world that he's temporarily exiled from, trying to explain his absence to people who may or may not understand. I feel a kinship with him. Twice, trying to navigate the space between presence and absence. I continue through the motel courtyard, past doors that hide a dozen different stories of transition, and behind one door, her fingers finding melodies in the woman practices scales on a keyboard, dark. Behind another, someone types on a laptop, the keys clicking with the rhythm of either inspiration or desperation. But these are the sounds of people trying to create something from nothing, trying to build new lives from the fragments of old ones. The motel is and find myself facing a small diner-way station, a place where people pause between chapters of their stories. I reach the end of the courtyard. The windows are fogged with steam from the grill attached to the motel, and the neon sign promises open 24 hours in pink cursive letters. Through the glass, I can see a handful of customers scattered across Red, the hostess. A woman in her 50s with silver hair, vinyl booths, each one wrapped in their own private world of late-night contemplation. I push through the door, and the bell chimes with the same electronic note as the convenience store, where I can watch the other customers part, and the kind of smile that suggests she's seen everything and judged nothing, looks up from her crossword puzzle. Or if she's just following the protocol of coffee's fresh, sit anywhere. Honey, she says to the space where I stand. I wonder if she can see me. The vinyl squeaks under my invisible weight, and customer service regardless of whether she can perceive the customer. Either way, I'm grateful for the welcome. I choose a booth in the corner without being observed. The hostess glances over with a kind of casual attention that suggests she's noticed the sound but isn't concerned by it. The diner has the timeless quality of places that exist outside normal hours. The lighting is soft and warm, the kind that makes everyone look more forgiving. The menu is laminated and extensive, offering everything from breakfast specials to comfort food to late-night snack. Other customers are spread across several booths, each one a small island of solitude in the larger archipelago of the night. A trucker sits at the counter, working his way through a plate of eggs and hash browns while reading a newspaper. A couple in their 30s shares a piece of pie, talking in the low voices of people who are either falling in love or falling apart. In the booth across from me, a young woman writes in a journal, her pen moving across the page with the kind of intensity that suggests she's trying to capture something before it disappears. She pauses occasionally. She's creating to sip from a cup of coffee that's probably gone cold hours ago. I watch her write, fascinated by the privacy of the act. Something that no one else will see, recording thoughts and observations. There's something beautiful about that, and feelings that are hers alone. Solitude, that commitment to the private world of the mind. The hostess approaches my booth with a coffee pot and a cup. She sets the cup down in front of where I sit and pours the coffee with practiced precision. "You okay, sweetie?" she asks, looking directly at me. "You look like you could use some company." My heart skips. She can see me. Somehow, impossibly, she can see me. I start, then stop. What do you say to someone who acknowledges I've your existence when the rest of the world has forgotten you? It's okay, she says, settling into the booth across from me. I'm Betty. Been working nights for 30 years. You learn to see things that other people miss. She's wearing a name tag that confirms her introduction, and her eyes are kind but tired. She has the look of someone who's spent decades listening to other people's stories, offering comfort in the form of hot coffee and patient attention. You're not from around here, are you? Geography becomes flexible. You end up meeting people who are. I'm David, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. Nice to meet you, David. I consider the question. I'm not sure where I'm from anymore. She nods as if this makes perfect sense. That's the thing about the night shift. From everywhere and nowhere at the same time. We sit in comfortable silence for a moment, and I sip the coffee. It's strong and bitter, the kind that's been sitting on the burner for hours, but still provides the caffeine and warmth that night people need. Can I ask you something? I say eventually. Of course. Can you really see me? I mean, actually see me. Betty considers this question seriously. I can see you the way I see. Maybe not with my eyes, exactly, but with everything else in here. Something deeper. You're here, David. You're present. That's what matters. She glances around the diner, taking in the other customers with the kind of attention that suggests she knows their stories. Most people who come in here are invisible in one way or another. She continues. They're running from something, or running to something, or just running. They're between lives, between identities, between one version of themselves and another. Like the trucker who's been driving for 18 hours straight. I follow her gaze to the young woman writing in her journal. Like her, like the couple who's trying to decide whether to stay together or call it quits. Like you, Betty's insight cuts through the mystery of my condition without making it. She's not questioning my invisibility or trying to explain it. She's simply acknowledging it as one of many forms of displacement seem less real, away, that bring people to diners at 3 a.m. What's your story? She asks. What brought you to my diner on a rainy night? How do you explain that you woke up invisible, that you've been wandering the city like a ghost, that your eye just stopped being visible, that happens, trying to understand what it means to exist without being seen? People disappear in all kinds of ways. The question is, what? I disappeared, I say finally, not by choice, but to the world. Betty nods as if this is the most natural thing in the world. Sometimes you're going to do about it. The question hangs in the air between us, heavy with possibility. What am I going to do about it? I've been so focused on adjusting to my invisibility. I'm not sure I have a choice. Maybe not about what happens to that. I haven't considered whether I might have any agency in the situation. I don't know, I admit. Everyone has a choice, Betty says. Depression. Of them, but about how they respond to what happens to them. She refills my coffee cup without being asked, the gesture automatic and kind. They become invisible to themselves first, and then to I've seen people disappear in lots of ways. She continues. Addiction, grief, fear. They stop participating in the world, stop believing, talking to me. That's not the behavior that they matter. Only you can answer that. Maybe I am looking, but I can tell you that's sitting in my everyone else. Is that what happened to me? I don't know. Diner, drinking my coffee. Someone who's completely disappeared. That's the behavior of someone who's looking for a way back. Her words resonate with something deep in my chest. Maybe this wandering through the night isn't just for a way back. Acceptance of my condition, but a search for something I've lost. How do you find your way back? I ask. Same way you find your way anywhere, Betty says. One step at a time. The conversation is interrupted by the arrival of a new customer, a man in his 40s, wearing a security guard uniform and carrying the kind of tiredness that comes from working nights for years. He nods to Betty and takes a seat at the counter. Betty asks, already reaching for the coffee pot. Per usual, Charla. You know it, Charlie says, and make it strong. It's going to be a long night. Betty pours his coffee and starts working on his order. Eggs over easy, wheat toast, hash browns. The kitchen sounds provide a comfortable backdrop of sizzling and chopping, and the gentle clatter of dishes. There's something the way people find refuge. You're here. I watch the routine unfold. The familiar dance of service and need that plays out in diners across the country every night. Deeply comforting about the predictability of it, in small rituals and familiar faces. That makes you visible in the ways that maybe visibility isn't just about being seen, but about it to cook in. And you're part of this too, Betty says, returning to my booth. This place, sharing this moment at the other customers lost in their own private matter. Pie. I look around the diner. But everyone needs to be acknowledged. Words at Betty, moving between tables with practiced grace. The kitchen creating comfort food for the night shift workers' insomniacs. Maybe she's right. Participating, about being present in the moments that matter. Thank you, I say. Honey, you for what? For seeing me, for making me feel like I exist. Betty smiles, and her face transforms with genuine warmth. Exist whether I see you or not. Sometimes, everyone needs to know that they matter. I finish my coffee and leave money on the table. Betty nods her approval, and I realize that the transaction has made me feel more real than I have since I became invisible. The exchange of currency for service. The acknowledgement of my presence through commerce. It's a small thing, but it connects me to the world in a tangible way. You come back anytime, Betty says, as I stand to leave. Night shift can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. The diner feels like a sanctuary, a place reflecting the neon signs, and I promise that I will, and I mean it. Where invisibility is just another form of being human. I push through the door and step back into the night. The rain has maybe the path back to the world, is less like a place where I don't belong, and more like a place. The city feels different now, more one moment at a time, and I have more walking to do, more observing, one stopped, but the streets are still wet. Streetlights in ribbons of color, welcoming where I might find my way. Betty's words echo in my mind as I walk, one step at a time. Maybe that's all any of us can do, visible or invisible, always taken one step at a time, acknowledgement at a time. The night is still young, more learning, more becoming, whatever it is I'm becoming. But for the first time since I became invisible, I feel like I'm moving toward something rather than away from it. I walk through neighborhoods I've never seen before, past houses where people sleep behind drawn curtains and apartments, where night shift workers prepare for their own journeys into the city's second economy. The rain has washed the air clean, and everything smells of possibility. I pass a small park. He's organized his possessions with the kind of care that suggests where a homeless man has set up camp under a pavilion. He's been doing this for a while. Sleeping bag, backpack, a small radio that. And for a moment, our eyes meet. He can see me. I plays classical music at low volume. He's invisible in his own way. Maybe people who live on the edges of the visible world are more overlooked by the daytime world, existing in the margins of society. He looks up as I pass. Realize, attuned to other forms of invisibility. Cold night, he says. The same words the woman at the bus stop used hours ago. Getting warmer, I reply. He nods and returns to his radio, adjusting the antenna to get better. The music drifts across the park. Something by batch. The city is full of people who exist in the spaces between. The night is full of small reception. Transforms the small space into a cathedral of sound. I continue walking, carrying the music with me. Encounters, brief connections that remind me that I'm not alone in my invisibility. Not in the bright light of full visibility, but in recognition and acknowledgement. People who've learned to find meaning. Maybe that's where I can be most in the margins. Maybe that's where I belong. The gentle twilight of partial recognition. Myself. The sky begins to lighten. At the edges, not yet dawn, but the promise of dawn. The city prepares for its daily transformation. The shift from night to day, from the economy of dreams to the economy of daylight. I find myself walking toward the ocean again, drawn by the sound of waves and the promise of horizon. The gas station sits like a small island of light in the darkness, fluorescent tubes buzzing their electric lullaby. I drift toward it, my feet silent. On the attendant sleeps in his booth, head tilted back, mouth wet, asphalt slightly open. His breath fogs the glass in small rhythmic clouds. I stand before the vending machine. Pie, its face glowing red and blue, humming that low mechanical song. Diet Coke, Marlboro, Hostess, the poof. I press my palm against the cool glass, feeling its vibration travel through my transparent bones. Behind me, a car pulls up to the pump. A woman in a nurse's uniform steps her white shoes, clicking on the pavement. That the night shift ends. That morning always comes. She's tired. I can see it now. The way she moves, the way she rubs her temples. I want to tell her it's okay, but I am only watching now. She feeds quarters into the machine. The coins clink and fall. She selects a coffee black. The cup drops with a hollow thud. Steam rises from the small opening, and I breathe it in, imagining warmth I can no longer feel. The corner arcade calls to me from across the street. Bis its neon sin flicker. The door hangs open, held by a broken hinge. Galaxy games, half the letters dark. I cross without looking, knowing no car can touch me now. Inside, the machines stand like monuments to abandoned joy. Pac-Man stares with his yellow mouth, frozen open. Space invaders march in silent. The floor is sticky with spilled soda and decades of teenage formation. Dreams. Her fingers dancing over the buttons, her body pressed close. I remember Sarah, her laugh echoing off the walls as she played Gallagher. Like this, I whispered into her ear. Feel that he mumbles about coffee shops and Sunday mornings. About. I sit beside him, unseen, and listened to his mind as I guided her hands. Rhythm, casting shadows that the memory sits heavy in my chest. Warm and sharp like whiskey. A homeless man sleeps in the corner, curled against the broken pinball machine. His shopping cart holds everything he owns. I close my eyes and let the hum wash over me. Aluminum cans rattling softly as he breathes. Dreams. Hands that once held his. We are both invisible now, I think. But only I chose to be. The vending machine light flickers behind me. Dance without body. Electric and eternal. Like the city's heartbeat. I find myself walking down Melrose, past the closed boutiques, an empty sidewalk cafe. The streetlights paint everything in amber honey. My footsteps make no sound, but I can feel the pavement beneath me, cool and textured like memory itself. The jazz club sits in a basement on Highland. Blue Note reads the sign, though the bee flickers and dies. I slip through the door like smoke past. The bouncer who stares at his newspaper. The stairwell smells of cigarettes and old dreams. Below, the music plays to empty tables. A trumpet weeps its silver song, while a piano whispers a The bartender wipes glasses. The islands of the bartender gleam like tears. Breathe 3 patrons sit apart from each other. His movements are circular and endless. Behind him, bottles catch the stage light. Loneliness in a sea of blue light. I take a seat at the bar, though the stool remains empty. Looks right through me as he polishes another glass. Notes that hang in the air and dissolve into silence. Meditation. The music pours from past the 24-hour and hold it like captured stars. The trumpet player closes his eyes as he plays. His face is weathered, beautiful, and the city sleeps around, carved by years of late nights and early mornings. Him like liquid gold, lean forward, wanting to absorb every vibration. This is how I feel now. like music played 2 empty rooms. Unheard, I leave the club and walk through the quiet streets. Me, but I am awake, more awake than I have ever been. Laundromat, where clothes tumble in endless cycles. Past the motel, where neon spells vacancy in cursive pink. I stop at a window on the 2nd floor. The curtains are thin, and I can see Maria from the coffee shop on Sunset. She sits at her silhouette. I used to count them, sometimes lying in her bed, watching her vanity, brushing her long black hair. 100 strokes, like her mother taught her. Reflection in the mirror. 97, she would say. Now I count in silence. 90, 99. Her dark eyes search the glass, and I hold my breath like 100. She sets down the brush and turns toward the window. For a moment, I think she sees me, though I'm not sure. I still breathe. But she only closes the curtains and the soft rustle of sheets, the quiet creak of turns off the light. I press my palm against the window. The glass is cool and smooth. Her skin in winter. I remember the taste of her lips. Coffee and cigarettes. I lean closer, trying to catch the words, but they slip away, like and something sweet I could never name. Bear, the way she would trace circles, I on my chest with her fingertip, lazy spirals that made me dizzy. I'm here, I whisper to the darkness, but the words dissolve like sugar in rain. Inside, I can hear her moving. The bed. She murmurs something in her sleep. A name that might be mine. Everything else I am so close and so impossibly far. The city breathes around me. Car, engines, humming, the distant lullaby. Somewhere, a cat yowls in an alley. Somewhere, a siren wails and fades. I'm part of it all and separate from it all. Like jazz played in an empty room, the sky begins to lighten as I make my way home. Not the harsh brightness of day, but the soft gray of dawn. When the world exists in that space between sleeping and waking, the neon signs look tired now, their colors pale against the growing light. She doesn't. I walk slowly, savoring these last moments of night. But a jogger passes through me, her breath forming small clouds in the cool air. Pause, doesn't shiver. I am nothing to her, less than a breeze. I climb the stairs without touching the handrail, my feet finding each when my apartment building stands silent on its corner. The lobby light buzzes and flickers, the same fluorescent hum that has sung me to sleep for 3 years. Step by memory, the door to my apartment stands ajar. I left it open when I fled. First realized what I had become. Now I push it wider and step inside. Everything is exactly as I left it. Coffee mug on the kitchen counter, newspaper folded to the crossword puzzle, my reading glasses on the bedside table. But it feels different now, like a museum of my former life. I am absence. I move through the rooms like a ghost, visiting his own haunting. Bathroom mirror reflects nothing. The scale shows no weight. Itself, the space between heartbeats. In the bedroom, I sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress doesn't compress, but I can feel its softness. Memory foam that remembers everything except me. Through the window, the city continues its eternal dance. Cars begin to fill the streets. People emerge from their apartments and houses, ready to be seen. Batter back and close my eyes. The pillow cradles nothing, but I sink into it. Anyway, into the soft darkness behind my eyelid. The sounds of morning seep through the walls. Coffee makers gurgling, shower water running. The distant hum of the freeway. To disappear, to become the silence. Maybe this is what I needed all along. Between words, the pause between breaths. To exist without impact. To love without claiming. To be present without being there. The sun climbs higher, painting my walls with golden light. Dust motes of the homeless man dreaming of the nurse buying coffee from the vending machine. All of dance in the beams, and I wonder if I am like them, now weightless and floating, visible only when the light hits just right. I think of Maria brushing her hair, coffee shops, the soft space between, them living their beautiful, broken lives, while I watch from the spaces in between. This is peace, I realize. This weightless floating, this gentle dissolution, and the morning mist, the last star fading, sleeping and waking. The city stirs outside, but I stay inside, where it's still night, into the quiet, into the morning, into the endless, gentle shadows hold me like water. I breathe in the golden light and let it fill the empty spaces where I used to be, and I fade, space between being and not being.